Okay, so this is a good audio level. All right, so Hebrews chapter 10, verse 1. For the law, since it's only a shadow of the good things to come, and not the very form of the things, can never, by the same sacrifices which they offer continually year after year, make perfect those who draw near. So this is in contrast to, it's contrasting the ministry of the high priest in the Old Testament, and Jesus is our high priest now. And so what it's saying, the high priests were set up under the law of Moses. So this is like the Ten Commandments, but with all of the other laws.
Yeah.
So this happened at Mount Sinai when Moses was leading the people into the Promised Land. And God authorized Moses' brother, Aaron, who is from the tribe of Levi, to be the first priest. Yeah. And so it's saying the law, which was the way that God offered and confirmed the promise to Israel, the first covenant, the old covenant, the law was never able to make perfect those who draw near. And what that says is that what it says about God is that God is okay with doing partial solutions that he's going to improve over time. So God is not afraid of offering something imperfect. The law was imperfect. The law was not able to make us perfect. So the law itself could never do what God ultimately wanted to do. So he's contrasting. So this goes back to the emphasis in Hebrews. One of the best words to use about this book is better. And there are all these comparisons that the author of Hebrews is making. And right here, he's continuing this conversation or this idea that he's used in the previous chapters, that Jesus is our better and greater high priest. He's a better priest than the ones that served, beginning with Aaron and Aaron's sons and all the way down. So it's saying the law itself is only a shadow of what's going to come. So this is very much like a shadow. If it's a shadow of a tree, the shadow is not the tree. It's just a shadow. But what makes the shadow is the tree. The tree is the reality, and the shadow is just a shadow. So God is not afraid to offer a way of living. Now, this isn't a way of a relationship with him. A relationship with God has always been by faith. And we're going to see that in the next chapter. But God offered them a way to arrange their lives by this law, but that was just a shadow of the reality that would come later. So the law is a shadow of what? What's the reality that comes after the law?
Jesus.
Bingo. Jesus. Very good answer. Jesus is the reality. And God used Jesus in the way he formed the law to be like a shadow or a picture of Jesus. And it says that because he's going to get into this, they had to offer these sacrifices every year. The reason they had to offer them every year is because they never made perfect those who drew near during those sacrifices. So they had to be offered every year. All right, so let's look at verse 2. Otherwise, would they not have stopped or ceased to be offering? Because the worshipers, having once been clean, would no longer have a consciousness of sin. But those sacrifices, verse 3, In those sacrifices, there remains a reminder of sin year by year. So it's impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins. So again, he's contrasting not just the priesthood, but the sacrifice itself. So the sacrifice of the animal blood, it covered sins for a year, but it didn't take away sin. Yeah? And so Jesus offered himself one time, and that sacrifice broke the power of sin in the lives of people who put their faith in him. So we don't ever have to offer any sacrifices again, because if we believe in Jesus and his sacrifice, boom, that's it. Yeah. So we never have to offer sacrifice again. If we sin, all we have to do is confess our sin to God. And when we confess our sin to God, 1 John 1:9, if we sin, if we confess our sins, he's faithful and just to cleanse us from the sin and restore us to righteousness. So we don't have to go through a priest anymore. So we can go directly to God. Lord, I'm sorry, I sinned. I messed up. I am sorry. Yeah? Please forgive me. Boom, it's done. All right. So, verse 5, therefore, when he comes into the world, he says, sacrifice and offering you haven't desired, but a body you have prepared for me. In whole burnt offerings and sacrifices for sins, you have taken no pleasure. Then I said, behold, I have come. In the scroll of the book it's written of me, to do your will, O God. All right, so let's start with this. Therefore, when he comes into the world, he says, who is he? Jesus. And that's important. It's important for us to keep these pronouns right. Yeah? So we might be thinking, oh, this is about God. No, because it says when he comes into the world, this is what he said. A body you prepare for me. That's talking about Jesus. Jesus came into the world with a body that started as a baby. Yeah. And when we saw him, we saw a body. Yeah. And he came to do God's will. And the sacrifices for sin and the offerings, that didn't totally please God. It made him okay for a year, but they had to offer those every year. Yeah. So, and then he says at the end in verse 7, I've come to do your will. So, verse 8, after saying sacrifices and offerings of whole burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin you have not desired, nor have you taken pleasure in them, which are offered according to the law, verse 9, then he said, behold, I have come to do your will. He takes away the first in order to establish the second. So this is a really important point. Again, we have to look at this. What does this tell us about God? God is perfectly okay. It's a part of God's plan to reveal a part of the truth in a certain time frame, but then later on to reveal a more complete version of that truth. And when he reveals the more complete version of the truth, that salvation comes by faith in Jesus, and Jesus is the image of God, that puts away the first. The second replaces the first. Yeah. And the first was the law. We need to do these animal sacrifices every year. But when Jesus comes, as the high priest, his sacrifice was fulfilled all of God's demand for the payment for sin for our lives. So the blood of bulls and goats, it satisfied God for a year, but then you had to offer it again. The sacrifice of Jesus, It totally satisfied God's demand for the payment for sins because he was the perfect sacrifice. He wasn't just an animal. He wasn't just a bull or a goat. He was God himself who died for us. Yeah. So again, this is a big part of the book of Hebrews, and it's really important that we always keep this in mind as we're going through the book, that the author of the book of Hebrews is comparing different things, and in this case, he's comparing the priesthood, the priesthood of Aaron, the Levitical priest, with the priesthood of Jesus, and he's saying the priesthood is different, but he's also saying the offering is different. The offering with Jesus is better. The priesthood with Jesus is better. Yeah. It puts away what was offered before, what was enacted before. It puts those away because these are so much better. All right. So, verse 11. Not verse 11. Verse 8. Verse 10. Verse 10. All right. By this will we have been sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once and for all. So, by this offering of Jesus' body, we have been sanctified. Do you remember what that word means, sanctified?
Sanctified. Just justify or sanctify?
Sanctified is a different word. Okay, sanctified is set apart. So here's Jesus.
Yeah.
And this is us. And when we believe in Jesus, we're set apart. We're placed in some place different. And that someplace different is we're taken out of one place
Go
to a different place. So in the place where we were before Jesus, we were slaves of Satan to sin. Jesus rescued us from that, and he set us apart, that we're no longer under Satan's power.
Yeah.
So that's sanctified. We're set apart. And so we're set apart from something, Satan's control, to something else. And we're set apart for a purpose. It's a different purpose. The purpose that we had when we were under Satan is to do Satan's will. The purpose that we have when we're sanctified is to do God's will. Just like Jesus said. So Uni and I have done this study yesterday and the day before, I think. And I didn't see this. But the purpose, Jesus said, here's my purpose. I didn't come to be a sacrifice like the old sacrifices. But I've come to do your will. That's my purpose. And he says that at the end of verse 7. I said, behold, I've come in the scroll of the book, it's written of me, to do your will, O God. So, if we believe in Jesus, and if we're sanctified and set apart from sin and the rule of Satan, we're set apart to the rule of God, following Jesus as our example. So if his purpose was to do the will of God, now our purpose becomes to do the will of God. We're no longer doing the will of Satan. God sanctified us. He set us apart to do his will. We have a purpose. When we trust Jesus as our Savior, we're not just forgiven of our sins, but we have a purpose now that's different than the purpose before. So, salvation to us is having this kind of purpose to do the will of God. And that, again, is one of the better things about the offering that's made for us. The offering of bulls and goats, that didn't deliver people from the rule of Satan. They still had a nature of sin, and they still had to listen to the nature of sin because they were slaves of Satan. But God makes us slaves of him when we believe in him, And the purpose of that is to do his will, just like the purpose of Jesus was. All right. So, by this will we have been sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus once and for all. And then verse 11. Every priest stands daily. So, it's important to see the word stand.
Stand
Yeah.
daily.
He's standing. Every priest stands daily, ministering and offering time after time the same sacrifices, which can never take away sin. So what that means is the people in the Old Testament, God still wanted them to live by faith, but they still had a nature of sin. Those offerings of bulls and goats, they could never take away the sin. They just covered the sin for that year. So they had forgiveness for the sins for that year, but then they had to offer again the next year. Because sin itself was never taken away. Sin, the power of sin, was never destroyed by the Old Testament sacrifices. But the body of Jesus and his sacrifice is different. The body of Jesus and his sacrifice, because this says the old sacrifices of blood and goats could never take away sin, the implication of that is that the body of Jesus and his sacrifice can take away sin. And it takes it away by making it powerless. Now, we don't have to listen when Satan says, oh, you need to do this. You need this for life. We can now choose to say, no, I'm following God. And my source of life is not sex or power or money or recognition. Life is a relationship with God. And I'm going to listen to that and not you. We have the power to do that now because the power of sin has been broken when Jesus offered his body. Yeah? All right. So let's keep going. So every priest stands daily, ministering and offering time after time the same sacrifice, which can never take away sin. Verse 12, but he, who's the he?
Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus. We always have to keep this straight. We always have to make sure, okay, who's he talking about now? Yeah, Jesus, having offered one sacrifice for sins for all time, is he still standing? No. He sat down at the right hand of God, waiting for that time onward until his enemies be made a footstool for his feet. So, again, this is a comparison. And he's comparing the priest.
Yeah.
And the priest before did something, and Jesus as the priest does something. The priest before, they stand every day. Jesus, because their offering is never finished. Jesus made the offering once and for all. So when he's done, he sits down. He's done. His work is done. Yeah. The high priest work was never done. He had to keep offering sins every day to minister to the people, to have them have this temporary covering. Yeah. But when Jesus offered his sacrifice, he sat down once and for all at the feet of God. And now he's waiting until God makes the enemies a footstool for his feet. So, verse 14, for by one offering he has perfected for all time those who are sanctified. This is a big verse. This has a lot to say. So, by one offering. So that goes in contrast with the priest before.
Yeah.
They made many offerings. Jesus only made one. Right? So again, we always want to look at what's happening. This is a comparison again. So the book of Hebrews is full of comparisons. This is the way it was then, and this is the way it is now. Yeah. So the priest in the Old Testament, they had to offer these sacrifices over and over and over again. With Jesus, one time. Yeah. So he says, for by one offering, he's perfected for all time those who are sanctified. Okay, he has what? He has
Perfect.
Perfected. And what did it say up here about perfections?
Oh, no.
So I have to look back. Verse 1 it says, for the law, since it's only a shadow and not the real thing, can never, go to the end of verse 1, can never make perfect those who draw near. And in verse 4, it's impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sin. Right? So, then down here in verse 14, through one offering, he has perfected